Native American Heritage Day, and in Santa Fe, New Mexico, an American Indian boarding school with a traumatic past is making a difference for students and their tribal communities. Antonia Hilton has a closer look at how students are carrying on their traditional Native culture.
For generations, Indigenous families have shared stories about the history of boarding schools, run by the federal government and designed to assimilate their children and separate them from their families. Recently, the federal government has been investigating the lives that have been lost and ruined by that system. But one school system in Santa Fe is already building a new era on old land and turning tragedy into triumph.
Don't be late, guys. Hi, sweetheart.
For Christy Abeyta, becoming superintendent of the Santa Fe Indian Boarding School was a dream job. She's not just an administrator, but a steward of history, overseeing a school that has overcome.
So for some people, it's too painful to come back here.
Founded in 1890 by the U.S. government, it was one of more than 400 boarding schools in the 19th and 20th centuries that used separation and violence to stamp out the traditions and spirit of Indigenous children and took hundreds of lives, all in the name of assimilation.
You still hear stories from families who say, you know, we'll never ever send our students to an Indian school because of the experiences of my grandfather and what they lived through.
This is all that remains of the original school building from 1890, a site where children were separated from families, beaten if they spoke their native languages, chained if they broke the rules. It was once a site of incredible pain, but now it's a reminder of how far this place has come. In 1976, the tribal governors of the 19 local Pueblo communities took control and indigenized the curriculum, and now Native language and culture are celebrated here. Tribal elders teach history. They have one of the highest graduation rates in New Mexico. On Indigenous Peoples Day, the campus was transformed. Students and families ate, prayed, and danced together.
Back in the day, we were not allowed to speak our languages. We were punished if we did, punished for just dressing up in our regalia. And so being able to dance freely shows our resilience as Native people.
For senior Alexis Vigil, who had a tough childhood and was separated from her Pueblo at age 5, being part of this is healing.
I feel like that kind of sparked more of an interest for me to want to go back home and relearn and regain everything that was lost.
Now the school teaches 6 different Native languages. Alvino Sandoval teaches the Dene language, also known as Navajo.
These are the change agents, and they're the ones that will make the difference. And we'll continue to hear the language, the prayers, the songs.
Christy Abeyta hopes this school becomes a model as Indigenous Americans push lawmakers to act on 2 bills that would create a congressional commission to study records from the Indian boarding schools.
There has been a movement to talk less about race in school. So are you finding that you're doing this at a time when there's less and less support for it?
There's always been this resistance to accepting that people aren't all the same. But if you really want to reach your kids, you have to acknowledge who they are, where they come from, and what's important to them.
Many of the students that we spoke with say that their grades and their self-confidence soared once they switched from traditional schools to this one. And they hope that the school system serves as an inspiration, not just for the curriculum and approaches in Indigenous communities, but for schools across the board.